coming are better than others, and that was probably based on 20% or 20 points out of 100. And then the remaining 10 was probably the chief's points, where if the chief felt you were a viable candidate, he may give you 5 of the 10 points, he may give you 9 of the 10 points. If he didn't think you were a viable candidate, he may not give you any points. And that kind of made up the 100 points. Based on how many points you got in the testing process, they put you on a list. And then based on their department needs as far as promotion, they always went to the top of the list. And the list only remained current for 2 years. After 2 years it expired, you had to do a whole other testing process. Based on the department's needs, if somebody retired like I did, they needed to replace that lieutenant, they would go to the current list and then take the next person on the list, based on results of the testing process.
All right. So with that, as you being a subordinate for 20 years and you had leaders above you, what did you learn from those leaders above you? And like, what are some of the things that you did not feel were correct leadership styles?
Well, prior to my getting on the job, college education was not big. All right, it was not a requirement for the job. It wasn't a requirement for when I took the job. It's only recently that does the job even require that you have a minimum of either 2-year degree or be a certified paramedic. So there were a lot of people that got promoted just because they were one of the good old boys. And based on that, they may or may not have the knowledge to know what was a good management style or that type of thing. So there were a lot of people that were promoted that may or may not had good leadership qualities. But because they were there at the time and the department was smaller, they got promoted. So maybe some of those guys I looked at as not having good qualities as a leader. But a lot of guys did, with my generation starting, more and more guys came on the job with a college degree, which kind of set them up for wanting to go back to school, take more classes, and learn more and more stuff.
So you felt with your college degree, it definitely helped you and made you a more well-rounded person for a management aspect. And
I took a lot of management with the curriculum I took as far as police administration, but it also helped me. I'm sure it was one of the things that the Fire and Police Commission looked at when they were looking at attributes that I had for promotion or for assigning point value to.
Okay. What I would like to ask you next is, as soon as you gained your rank as lieutenant within the fire department, with the subordinates underneath you, are there any conflicts that you experienced specifically that stand out to you specifically that you had to put forth your leadership style and really delegate or work with the person or reprimand them? And in what ways did you reprimand them or show them rewarding them, I guess is the question I'm asking, is like anything that stands out in that sense?
Well, every 6 months, lieutenants as well as battalion chiefs have to do performance evaluations on my employees. So of the guys I work with, roughly 4 to 5 people that I'm responsible for, I have to do a performance evaluation on every 6 months. If I find their performance is low, I'm going to rate them low, and I'm going to point that out to them when I do a one-on-one delivery of their performance evaluation. So I don't want to say reprimand them then, but point out, I never wanted to really reprimand people because I would rather point out some of the positive attributes and how they can improve. It was only during times of, if we went on an emergency call and I felt our performance was poor, I would talk about it on our way back to the station and point out things that we did correctly, but also point out things that I felt we could have improved on, or we could have done better, or that we really stunk at this, and that's embarrassing to me. So it was at those times what I guess you could say reprimand, but it really wasn't, yelling at them or calling them out on poor performance.
Did you feel with doing that way of talking with your employees or your subordinates at that point in time that that was a good way? Like, did you get positive feedback from your subordinates on the way you handled the situation after they'd done their performance review or after a call and you got back and you pointed out the things that went well or didn't go well? Did they understand where you were coming from and communicate back with you? Or was it just a cut and dry situation where it was, this is what he said, and that's it?
No, I mean, it was always pretty much a discussion, especially on some of the calls we went on. I remembered that before I got promoted and I was a blue shirt, I never felt that my superiors would ever praise people for a good job. I always felt, nobody ever said good job. It was always, when you did a poorer job, that was pointed out. So I made a point of every time we went on a call and we did a good job, even though it wasn't a big deal to me, I always told the guys, great job, nice job. I felt we did good on this job. Or if they didn't, like I said, I'd point out where we messed up. We, meaning, because I'm a working foreman, I'm also with them. It was never, you guys effed up and I did fine. We all did. We either all did great or we all did poorly, and we would point that out and discuss it. We would discuss it also how we could do things better for next time. The firefighting is not an exact science. Every call you go on is different, even though you could say, well, it's just a fire or whatever. Every call was different. Every outcome was different. How we got to the outcome was different each time, and we could always improve on that. And we put that in our memory bank for the next time.
Okay, going along with that, what are your tasks that you are completely responsible for, besides just leading your team within the station?
Well, within the station, we're there for 24 hours. From 8 in the morning till 5 in the evening, we're considered at work. Depending on the day of the week, we have different tasks to perform. On Mondays was always EMS training. So if you were paramedics and non-paramedics, we had a nurse come in from the hospital who would teach a class every week. All right. So that was Mondays. Tuesdays might have been inspections, where we would go out to a business or an industry, walk through their property, do an inspection of whether or not they had fire hazards or not. Wednesdays might have been major housework at the station, where one particular day may be cleaning the apparatus floor, or it could be cleaning some other part better, or washing windows or things like that. So that was one day a week. Anyway, each day was assigned a different task. Weekends were usually drill days, where you would go out and drill on a specific drill, whether it's the aerial tower, pumping with a pumper, leading out lines, scuba diving, things like that. So the point is, each day was something I, as a station officer, had to make sure my group knew what we were to do that day and accomplish those tasks. In addition to, if a call came in, we went on a call. You got to remember, from 8 to 5, we're at work. After 5, we can do whatever we want. We have to stay in the station. But during the whole time, we have to go on calls. So if we're drilling or we're cleaning or we're in class, call comes in, we have to stop and go do it. If we're